You may have thought that you had seen the worst of Florida State football, but oh no, I have the stats to prove it's even worse than you think.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith. Thank you for making this your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles football with me. Today's show is brought to you by Ultimate College Football Head Coach, a brand new mobile game that is completely free, no ads, and 100% playable offline. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all in caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Begin your coaching legacy today. Yes, it's worse than you even thought. Why do I say that? Well, I'm a stat guy, and I went into Pro Football Focus. I went into CFB Stats. I looked around just online and just kind of watched a little more of the game, just some clips and different things. When you combine them together, there are some numbers that you just cannot make up. You just can't make them up. And we're going to go into them today. We're going to talk about three categories. We're going to do offense for this show, just to be clear. Tonight on the live show, I'm doing at 9 p.m. Eastern. Do not miss it because we're going to have a lot of fan comments that you're going to want to see. And if you can't make the show at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight on the live show, I will post it after the show. You can watch it tonight or later on and tomorrow, whatever it may be. You can catch it on YouTube. You can catch it on any of the places like Castbox. You can get it on Spotify, Apple, etc. So, number one thing I want to talk about, and you can do whatever you want with this, but I'm going to go receivers first. Then I'm going to drop into for what it's worth, the quote unquote blocking grades for Pro Football Focus for the Noles. There's some comedy in that. Blocking, that's a comical word right now. And then the rushing grades, the running backs. I did them last because it's really hard to grasp because of the lack of carries. And again, I'm going to put them last. But I'm starting with the receivers because there's so much angst about DJ and me to a certain degree. But we have a hard time of really telling what's going on with passing game if you just watch the TV copy because you're seeing things from the side and you can't see all the routes. I know everybody wants to come to major conclusions. I grasp that. It is impossible. And this is from guys that I know in the coaching profession making seven figures, some of them. They do not grade anything unless they get vertical film. So what I'm about to go into, I'm using PFF and a little bit of my own information. But again, unless you have all vertical film, and I highly doubt very many of you do, if any, it is hard to get this to be complete. So just let me go into this. I'm going to list like the player, some of their drops, pass blocking, a little bit of everything, but I want you to get a complete picture, not just whether they caught the ball and how many yards. I thought he was going to be good this year, and he has been. If you look at the overall receiving grade, I'm not surprised by this. Number one guy by Pro Football Focus for the receiving grade for the Noles is Jalen Lucas, the transfer from Indiana, the running back, 77.9. Now, here's the interesting part. He's only been targeted 4 times. He got 3 receptions, 39 yards. But you can tell he's an explosive guy. Just doesn't have a big catch radius. Fair enough. But he is an explosive player. They have to find a way to get him the ball more. I'm a little surprised that the Noles haven't just used basic slip screens. Because like the first guy trying to tackle him, oof. That's rough. I'd like to see that more. I'm not sure why there hasn't been, but I have more questions than I have answers for across the board. So that's just another one piled onto the list. Rodell Williams is actually the second highest rated, 77. Fair enough. He's been targeted 5 times, 4 receptions, 42 yards. That's not too bad either. Kentron, obviously, he had a couple big plays yesterday. He's got 4 catches for 94 yards and a score. He's averaging 23.5 yards a pop. Maybe he's starting to figure it out. Maybe he's got a little bit of a niche with DJ. That would be splendid. I'm all in favor, and I will vote on it for all of you as well as Noles fans. You would like that as well. 77%, or excuse me, 76 is his grade. That's pretty good. Ja'Kai Douglas, he obviously in the Georgia Tech game especially, he was targeted, and it was a big deal what he had happen. 4 for 4 for him, 8 out of 13 for him, 121 yards. He's averaging 15.1. For a slot receiver, that's really good. It really is. It's amazing as bad as Florida State's offense is, and it is bad. he's done pretty well. The only thing with him, like, is he going to be a great pass blocker and stuff? No. Is Jalen Lucas a good pass blocker? No. Rodell? No. Running backs and slots aren't that guy, but like it's the complete whole. But when they get the football, they are dynamic. And right now, Florida State needs to create explosives, which they are just not doing. So that's something to think about. Malik Benson, he's okay, 62.9%, 7 out of 10 as far as targets. He's only got 72 yards, though. That's concerning. 10.3 for the guy that most people thought would be your number one. That's not great. Deuce Spann, he's got 1 catch this year. That's really disappointing, 5 yards. Jaylen Brown, 3 out of 5 receptions. His rate is only 57% by Pro Football Focus. He's only averaging 8.7. We heard he was probably going to be the number 2 receiver. We have not seen that yet. Tofili, awful performance catching the ball last night. He had one right through his hands. The other was at least close. Didn't get a running back carry in the first half. I don't know what was going on with that, and I still haven't heard. But he's only graded out at 54.9. Drops, 33.4. Like, he's not doing well. I don't know what's going on with Tofili. It's very concerning. You get down towards the bottom here. The guy that it's mad for me because I had said he's going to have a big year, going to be in the top 3 in receptions. He's going to really step it up. And it has completely been the opposite. And that's Kyle Morlock, the tight end. Here are Kyle's numbers. Targeted 7 times, 1 reception. That is pathetic. That's a combination of O-line, quarterback, and Kyle. Something not right on every play, just about. He has 12 yards. He had the 1 catch that he should have made against BC. He was in the end zone. Pretty good coverage, but still it didn't come to fruition that he got it done. 36% receiving rate. That is horrific. He is a pretty good pass blocker when he stayed in, 75.1%. But Kyle has kind of let me down. And to be honest, I know he can play better, and you probably could have called a few pass interference or whatever. But at the end of the day, never leave it in the hands of the guys in the stripes. The Zebras are human. They miss things too. Every now and then you just got to make a play. Kyle hasn't done that yet, and the only thing he can do is go up. So we'll see. I have not heard before anybody asked. Now we're in the chat tonight what's going on with Hakeem Williams. I really don't even want to watch Norvell's press conference. I'm not interested in it personally. I might watch a little bit of it, but what's he going to say? We're going to get better. We're going to work at this until we get better. Like, what's he going to say that I care? I mean, some of you might want to watch some of it. Today, I'm not going to get to that. I'm probably going to mess with that a little bit more on Wednesday. But right now, it's like, I assume that he's going to try and knock it out. Maybe he doesn't even have one this week. I haven't even looked. But stuff that I would want to know about would be with the receivers. Why is this so bad? That'd be my number one question, because there's too many guys with experience, height, and speed that aren't making plays. And some of the smaller guys have better yards per catch than the bigger guys with similar speed. It's crazy. That would be the one area I wanted to ask about, and I think a lot of you did. But I don't even know if Norvell's having a press conference. And honestly, I really don't care. They don't play this weekend. They need to spend every waking moment preparing for practice and getting their butts figuring out this passing game, because they came out trying to throw, and it was a disaster. I don't think they had a first down run that was designed in the first half. So they thought the passing game was going to work. If you think that way, you better hit, because no running plays in a half makes no sense. Tofili didn't have a run. Again, all this stuff is a culmination of why I'm leading into this with the passing attack. It's just completely puzzling to me. I'm not going to talk about DJ. We've talked enough about him. I might get into it a little bit tonight on the live show. But next up, we're going to talk about the offensive line. Oh, there are some comedy stats for what's going on with the offensive line. We can discuss why. That's next on Locked On Seminoles. Hey, Locked On Seminoles fans, I wanted to give you a moment and a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. This amazing game is a simulation where you get to step into the shoes of a head coach, lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of the Florida State Seminoles? From recruiting players, hiring staff, overseeing training camps, and handling scholarships, you control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. And here's what I really love about the game. You are responsible for calling offensive plays. Look, that's a really cool thing. Getting to call the play that gets you into the end zone, you will be in charge of that. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free, no ads, and 100% playable offline. And of course, we have a special offer for Locked On Seminoles fans. Use the promo code Locked On CFB, all in caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this free perk, as it will get your team off to a strong start. Download the game just by visiting ultimate-cfb.com or look it up in the App Store. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Download it today. All right, let's talk a little bit about the supposed blocking that's going on at Florida State. I want to make a quick synopsis of what I've seen first, and then just dive into run blocking, pass blocking, some injuries, different things that have been going on. Number one, you're talking about a unit coming into the season. I remember correctly, somebody said right before the first broadcast or right after it started against Tech, 210 career starts among the guys. Maurice had 2 false starts. The center last night. He's maybe the most experienced lineman in college football. I mean, it's just been bizarre. Trying to think like who's the best guy to use here as an example. I mean, if you really look at it and you just kind of get it into a perspective of which guys you think have the best chance to make something happen, I thought Darius Washington had a chance to be an All-American this year. He got his lunch eaten last night quite a bit. I'll start with him with stats momentarily, but you're just seeing experienced players regress. Why? This is bizarre. Like, they brought back a few guys. I wasn't sure if they'd come back or this or that, but like Darius, I mean, that's your left tackle. Mo's your center. When your best players are not playing even mediocre, there's not much chance. The left tackle and center, depending on the order you want to go, are the 2 most important positions of an offensive line with a right-handed quarterback, especially one that's not that mobile like DJ Uiagalelei. And those 2 just aren't playing that great. They're graduate students, so I don't understand what's going on. Here's the number that we've got to go with here with Big Darius. Washington is not faring that well overall, okay? Offensive grade just in general. This is hard to believe. Like, this is Pro Football Focus, so you can take this any way you want. They got him at 54.9. They got him at 58.5 for run blocking. His pass, this is unbelievable. Pass blocking, 45.4. That is your preseason All-ACC, potential All-American left tackle. 45.4. Mind-blowing. Jeremiah Byers, he didn't play this last game, but he was actually at 68% pass protection on the Tech game. But the other problem with that is a big one. Robert Scott is not good in pass protection. I was listening to the Nolecast to my guy, Bud Elliott, and he just kind of said he's not really playable. Right, like he really is down on. I don't know if I'm down on him that much, but he's at 48.9. That's even, below 50%. It's similar to where Darius is. So your 2 tackles for this last game were awful. Your center, who's potential All-ACC guy, has 2 false starts. Your running game created, you ready for this? 16 carries for 21 yards, 1.3 yards per tote. You didn't have enough confidence in your running game with the offensive line to have literally not a single running play called, like a designed run that functioned through and you went with it in the first half. They threw on first down every time. Now, I think they were trying to get away from some pressure, but not to have any, kind of puts things into perspective how much faith or not the Florida State coaching staff has in the guys up front. The numbers relate to that. Here's my question that nobody can completely answer, but I'm still going to ask anyway. Are they hitting enough in practice, and are they focusing on basic power plays? Because last year they did them pretty good. Jordan Travis didn't run much last year, and they punched people in the mouth when they had to more often than not. Clemson game aside, they had 22 yards rushing. Clemson ate their lunch up front. But that Clemson front had a bunch of D linemen going to the NFL and stuff, linebacker, etc. Georgia Tech and BC, they might have like 1 guy each, maybe 2 to go to the combine. Not at the same level of Clemson, no offense. What is going to happen to Florida State when you face Miami, Notre Dame, or any other team that's even top 30 in rushing defense / just raw talent up front, and you get into more second eights, third and sixes, good night. They're going to get just blitzkrieged. If this doesn't pick up, you're in trouble. Here are a couple other numbers for the grades. Maurice Smith right now overall is graded out at 78.2 in pass protection. He's pretty good at it, but he's 59.7 overall as an offensive player that takes into account everything. And his run blocking is 58.7, so it's almost the same. Really struggling to run the ball. The run blocking grades in general, the top guys, this is comical. Cam Davis, the freshman running back, is 83.2. He tries to help his teammates. Great. Robert Scott's a pretty good run blocker, 67%, but then Richie Leonard, 62.6 is your next lineman. Then you got to go all the way down to the backup center. Backup guy, like they don't have anybody. This is insane. Kendrick Jones is 73.9 pass block. Like they are so bad up front. It's comical. I mean, it's literally comical. I've never seen anything like this with a team that has this many returning players and this much raw talent. Mo and at least Darius, your center and left tackle, were projected to at least make the combine after this year. And there are some other guys possibly as well. They have deficiencies, especially considering the run blocking grades are pretty bad across the board. I got to think there's something going on with the chemistry in general. And I don't, that's a subjective term, but there's got to be a change in what's happened in practice and off the field, because this team is as non-together as last year's team was together. There is no cohesiveness, because you are still not going to tell me that you're not going to have a single first down run. Not one in a first half against Boston College. And I know they crowded the line some, but if even you get a couple of 4-yard runs by doing that, you set up play action. What did I say in the pregame show? DJ is not going to throw you out of situations. I think we all knew that anyway, but I still wanted to put it on record. And to be really honest with you, a few of his throws were pretty good, like the one to Tofili, that first third down. He catches that. Heck, he might have scored. He had a pretty good lead on the guy behind. That guy wasn't catching him. You only got to catch one more guy up front and make him miss the safety. He might have punched it. Florida State has shot itself in the foot there too, so that's not on the O-line. But even when they did do something good, they found another way to defeat themselves. This offense is so inept. They find a different way, it seemed like, on any given play, a penalty, a drop, a complete miss on a pass protection or poor technique, getting out over your feet. There was a play Darius had his head down. Like these, what are you looking at your own feet for? You're not blocking your own feet. There are numerous occasions where Florida State looked like they didn't have any football players with any experience. And by the record, starts, playing time, number of snaps in their career, this offensive unit, I would guarantee you, is top 10 in the nation in experience. It's insane, especially the O-line quarterback. The two spots that need experience, if not more, than any other spots on the gridiron. And they're arguably struggling the most. That's not good. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about the receiving corps and how it's impacted the running backs and how the running backs impact. It kind of plays back and forth, but it's technically the running game. I just think now that teams realize Florida State's passing attack is so inconsistent, the running backs are getting hammered, and that's why you're not seeing a lot of carries. We're going to discuss that next here on Locked On Seminoles. Get in the zone with 5-hour energy shots. They give you the feeling of alertness you need to stay in the zone. No sugar, convenient. It's got a portable size, fits right in the palm of your hand, and it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done, whether you're on the go or at the house. 5-hour energy has a website with flavors that you can pick from, like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and many more. Try them all. On the site, you can also build your own. So if you wanted 5 of the grape, 3 of the watermelon, etc., you can make 12 packs however you want. You can go 24-pack, and you could also have these delivered to your door. Make it easier on yourself. Go to 5-hour energy and check it out. Stock up on these multi-packs and make sure you never run out of delicious, energy-saving 5-hour energy shots. And if nothing else, you can pick them up at your convenience store or at the checkout line at your grocery store. You can find them there too. So go to 5hourenergy.com. That is the number 5hourenergy.com and get some 5-hour energy product today. You can use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB to get 20% off. This offer is valid through September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good for subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. So what do we make of the Florida State running back scenario? Prediction show yesterday before the game. I picked Lawrence Tofili to have 15 carries for 95 yards and a touchdown. In the first half, again, to reiterate, no carries not only for Tofili at all, which is bizarre, but there weren't any first down runs. To make it clear, I could even prove it to you. I have a sheet for games, and it doesn't matter who I'm covering. This is my thing because I'm a big believer in this. If you're on YouTube, you can see this right here. First down runs. That's the first thing I talk about. And you notice up here, for those you can see, it says game over. After the second drive for Florida State, I literally wrote game over at the top of my sheet. They weren't running the ball. They weren't trying to run the ball. They didn't look physical. And I was like, this game is in danger of not only being a loss. I thought at one point they were going to get beat like 42-10. BC struggled a little bit at times. They're not the most dynamic team. And Florida State did play in spurts pretty decent on defense, but then they would, again, kind of like the offense, shoot themselves in the foot. We'll talk more about that later on the show tonight and probably a little more tomorrow too. I need to dig into some of the stats with NIL and all that stuff, which I'm going to finish the show with. All these guys that have transferred in, all the experience, all the different things, all the high school recruiting that Florida State's done, you would think of all positions, running back would be a key. Offensive line, they've done good with the portal. Not so good on high school. Wide receiver, they certainly have missed quite a bit, and Hakeem's banged up. That doesn't help. A lot of good players in the portal, but nobody stepped up. Running back, Tofili's a guy that's been around the program forever. Cam Davis, an elite recruit, could have went to Georgia, Bama, Oregon, Notre Dame, wherever he wanted. He had offers from everybody. Picks Florida State as a sophomore and sticks with it, comes here. At least he's playing. But this is not a group at running back that I can completely figure it out. So I'm just going to go over some numbers. If y'all want to chime in on who, what, when, where, why, and how, jump in. But again, as I prefaced right before the break, I think a big problem now, it's just an open book. Florida State's passing game is so porous. Teams are daring the Florida State Seminoles to throw the ball. So if they run, they're worried about running into a heavy box. And I already read off the numbers for the O-line. That's why I went O-line and running back. So here are a few things to look at as far as the stat. Like these stats are just god awful. Just going to go through each guy. There's not that many players at running back. Jalen Lucas, 2 games, 8 snaps, 2 carries, 13 yards, 6.5 yards per carry. He's an electric player. Probably need to get him in space more. You don't want to get hit that much. 170 pounds, I get it. But offensively, he's got the highest grade, just like he does as a player at receiver. Really high grade, 76.8. Running the ball, 70.1. I mean, that's not too bad. Cam Davis, the freshman. I know he's eventually going to be an NFL guy. 4 attempts, 11 yards. He's been put in some pretty tough spots, but he moved the pile. Heck of a run blocker. For those you don't know, Cam is a beast. He's a guy that was shaven when he was 15 years old. I mean, he had a beard, and it's continued. He's 220, and he is yoked. His run blocking grade is 83.2. That's impressive. Rodell Williams, 20 snaps, running back, 16 carries, 52 yards, 3.3 in a score. The number is a little jaded. He's been in some short yardage, etc. Gotten beat up a little bit on it, but that's part of playing running back. But his offensive grade, 64.5. Nothing great, but running the football graded at 62.7. I think that he's okay, but like, where's he? A guy like Cam or Rodell, they're power guys. You need to give them that first crack. And once they get through the second level, taking those guys on is not fun. It's not fun at all. So I'm curious to see if they can do better and get them into the free area of the second level without getting beat up so much. They could probably hit some big plays with power just as much as they could with speed. Both of them could run too. Keziah Holmes, wow, 6 snaps, 3 carries, 8 yards, 2.7. Obviously nothing great. His grades are in the 50s, in the 60s, run blocking, 51%. Like, nothing great there. The most disappointing, and I'm still confused though, was Tofili. He's the guy I thought was going to break out this year and have a huge year. Kind of rooted for him. He's a guy they recruited, took through the system. But Tofili, 9 attempts, 37 yards, 4.1 and a touchdown. Didn't have a carry in the first half yesterday. I'm still just puzzled. His offensive grade is 58.5, running 61.2. Run blocking 60.3, fumble like 73, meaning how good is your ball security. DJ, 10 carries for 34 yards. He's kind of done what he's supposed to. And honestly, he's not that bad at the short yardage and stuff. He's done a nice job. He applied himself. He had the longest carry for Florida State against BC2, a 13-yard scramble. So I want to ask 2 things. Talk about the portal briefly here in just a second. How would you attack Florida State's running game with these teams putting 7 in the box? And like Florida State's got a tight end, the 5 linemen, the quarterback, and a running back. So you're down 1. They're putting 7 because they don't trust you. Like they're playing a guy kind of halfway in between with the safety. You don't know if he's going to drop, going to blitz, or stay in the middle. Like they're playing a lot of games with Florida State because they think they can get away with it. And so far, Tech and BC have, as far as the passing game goes. It's just true. How do you get teams to back off if Florida State's coaches are truly that worried about it? Would you go more gap scheme, more outside zone? Would you try something different in terms of a combination up front? I'm open to all answers. Secondly, the transfer portal. There's been a lot of discussion about this. And during last night's live show that I also downloaded, it's one of the main article or podcasts now on the site. You can listen to it, whether it's YouTube or Spotify or wherever. I talked about the portal, and a whole bunch of other people talked much more than I did. There's speculation that Florida State paid too many guys, and now they're just taking the money and not doing anything. I haven't heard what the numbers are with guys, so I have a hard time giving any credence to it, but I know some of them got paid. How much, how the contract is, all that, that's none of my business, and I don't have the info anyway. But I just want to say there are certain schools that there's been some issues with kids and they didn't pay kids, and now the kids are suddenly hurt. I've been told that over the last couple of years. NIL does cause dissension sometimes. But here's the odd part. Norvell and his staff, to date, have done not a good, but a tremendous job of balancing the portal with high school and blending it together. Until this year, I mean, the last 2 years, they were 10-3 and then 13-1. I mean, 23-4 over 2 years, pretty good. There's no doubt. So what's the difference? Is it one a bad apple? Is it a collection of things? And of course, you lost Jared Verse, you lost Keon Coleman, you lost Johnny Wilson, Jaheim Bell. These are good players, not discounting that. Several guys were really, really good. But why have they fallen off so bad that, like right now, I'm picking them to go 4-8. Flat out, that is my prediction, 4-8. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope so, because that's not going to be much fun to cover. But at the same time, that's where I've got it. And I think it's got to be at least part of the equation. Where do you think Florida State falls with this? Is it NIL related? If yes, and you've got details, and I do mean details, not speculation, I'd love to hear your comments on YouTube. And if you think it's something else that's creating some of this, whether it's running back, O-line, whatever, fire away. Because right now, all options should be laid out on the table. What's going on? You can't fix something until you know what's wrong. And that goes for fans too. Like, we want to know, as guys in the media, like, what are we supposed to be covering? Like, usually it's obvious what problems are. There are so many things going wrong. Even guys that I know are experts just texted with somebody that lives in Tallahassee that knows the program back to front. And he's like, I don't know. Like, he was dumbfounded. This is somebody that's very opinionated. I'll leave it at that. And he has no idea what's going on with Florida State. He's shocked. I talked to him right before the game. And, he wasn't sure, but he thought they would rebound and beat Boston College. Nope. It's somebody who's been around Florida State all his life. So I'm curious what y'all think. Is it NIL? Practice habits? Is there something else? Is there not enough buy-in? We're going to talk a little bit more about that tonight on the live show, but there's a lot of things going wrong. It's certainly crazy. Thank you again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles football with me. I appreciate it if you hit that like button, that notification bell, and share this podcast, rate and review, and above all else, comment. Like I said, this is not the most fun thing to discuss, but we do need to have discussion. Comment when you can on YouTube, and I will see you again tomorrow with the basic pod. But again, tonight at 9, going to have a live show. Everybody, I will see you later on this evening.